Alrighty guys, now we're going to talk about dividing with integers. We're going to use our same three methods, our number line method, our visual method, and our algorithm method. Let's go ahead and dive into our number line method. So for the number line method, we're going to use our number line obviously to divide, but it's important to remember that we're not looking for hops this time, but how many groups of the second integer we can have or make it from the first integer. So let me show you what that looks like. So here we're going to divide -9 by -3. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, out of -9, which I have highlighted in blue on our number line, how many groups of -3 can I make out of that -9? My arrow was supposed to show up before the text. Looks like I gotta fix that for later, but whatever. So I'm going to see how many groups of -3 I can make within that stretch of the number line for -9. So as you can see here, I can make 3 groups of -3 within -9. So that tells me then that -9 divided by -3 is a +3 because I have 3 groups of these -3. Okay, so this works best when we're talking about a negative divided by a negative or a positive divided by a positive. If I was to have a negative number and a positive number, this would get messy. So just like with multiplication, this method does have some restrictions. Let's talk about our visual method. Our visual method is actually very similar to how we use the number line in that we're looking for groups. On this, only instead of using a number line to show that grouping, we're going to use our circles. So first we're going to draw circles to model the equation. After we've done that, we're going to redraw our equation into dividing the integers and the regrouping. So here we have that same problem, -9 divided by -3. Now, we already know that equals +3, but let's see that we get that same answer while we use our visual method. So first step, we're going to draw the equation. So I have -9 divided by -3. Now I'm going to redraw the multiplication problem. So I'm going to draw groups of -3 that get me up to -9. Now, I have to make 3 groups of -3 to get -9. So 3 groups of -3. And then I'm going to draw my answer. Since I had 3 groups of -3 to get -9, or basically broke -9 into 3 groups of -3, that means that my answer is +3 to represent the number of groups that I had found or formed. So -9 divided by -3, equals +3. Okay, so again, this makes a lot more sense if we're talking about a negative divided by a negative or a positive divided by a positive. When we have the signs being kind of mixed, it does get a little bit more difficult. For that, I would recommend using our algorithm method. So let's look at our algorithm method. So the sign rules for dividing are actually identical to the sign rules for multiplying. So we're going to just divide the numbers like we would any other kind of problem. If the signs are negative and positive, meaning that different signs, the two numbers have different signs from each other, your answer will always be negative. However, if both signs of the numbers are the same, so you have a positive divided by a positive, or a negative divided by a negative, the answer will always be positive. And we did see that in some of in our 2 previous examples. So let's take a look at this. Here we have a positive divided by a positive, and of course those are the same signs, positive and positive, so we will get a positive answer. So if I had +25 divided by +5, well, you guys know 25 divided by 5 is 5. We wouldn't get a negative out of that. It's always going to be that +5. So like with multiplication, we've been using this rule. We just have only been using it when we're talking about our positive numbers. Now, let's say we have a positive divided by a negative. Those are different signs, So that's going to get us a negative answer. It would be the same case if it was a negative divided by a positive. We would still get that negative answer. So if I had positive 25 divided by negative 5, that's going to get me a negative 5. Has to get that negative solution. But we do the same division with the numbers. 25 divided by 5, it gives us 5. We just have to use these sign rules to say it's not just positive 5 here, it's negative 25 because those signs were different. Now let's say we have a negative divided by a negative. Those are same signs, so that means we're going to get a positive answer. And we saw this in our visual method and our number line method. We divided a negative number by a negative number, and we got a positive number of groups to make up that first negative integer. So if I had negative 25 divided by negative 5, basically saying how many groups of negative 5 can I form from negative 25? That would be 5 groups of negative 5. So negative 25 divided by negative 5 would get me positive 5. So just like our previous problem here, we did 25 divided by 5. That got us the number part of our answer, the 5. And then we use sign rules. A negative divided by a negative always gets us a positive answer. So it's positive 5 for our solution. So what we're going to do today is practice these sign rules for our multiplication and our division. It's pretty simple once you once you remember that if it's same signs, the answer is always positive. If it's different signs, the answer is always negative. After that, it's just regular division. So let's go ahead and get started on that practice, and I guess I'll see you in class.